Before we start this video, I just want to shout out my patrons. If you don't know, I have a Patreon page, and it's the best way to support me. I have a monthly token, as well as a sticker of the month club. You can be a part of it for as low as $2. And again, it's the best way to support me. Thank you so much, and let's get into the video. Everyone has their favorite magic artist. From old school, abstract, to modern. There's so many options to choose from, as well as a plethora of different arts for similar cards. With over 10,000 artists, Wizards of the Coast has no shortage of talent on their team. And it goes without saying, a lot of these artists are well recognized, well known, and beloved members of the Magic community. I mean, look at this. I've honestly been wondering, who's the most popular Magic artist right now? Alana Danner, Mark Tedden, Dan Frazier, Chris Ron. But let me propose to you an even more interesting question. Who's the least popular? I delved down a rabbit hole of Magic artists that you may not know about, and let me tell you, it did not disappoint. I was shocked to see how many artists and Magic cards had so much interesting lore to them, and I was even more shocked to see how many artists that worked with Wizards of the Coast just didn't continue careers with Magic after debuting their first card. While hard to sort through, I narrowed down 5 artists and the interesting stories that go behind their cards. So enough chatter, let's dive into Magic's least known artist. Number 1. Stasis. Behind the art of Commander players' most feared stacks piece, you'll find the name that you may or may not have seen before. Fay Jones. Fay Jones is an American artist born in Boston, Massachusetts in 1936. Graduating with a BFA from Rhode Island School of Design in 1957, she is best known for her colorful and playful style and her distinct inclusion of standout characters. Keen Magic players of Fun Facts may be familiar with her as being Richard Garfield's aunt. Yeah, the same Richard Garfield that created Magic the Gathering. Fay illustrated this for her nephew as a gift to support him, since at the time she was an incredibly established artist, and Richard Garfield was just beginning the creation of Magic the Gathering. Fay Jones' name also is notable as being one of the only established artists for the alpha set at the time of its release. This is because it's said that Richard Garfield mostly reached out to students that were looking to volunteer their work to save money, since this was a new budding game. Number 2. Lotus Petal, Intuition, and Allurin. Well, not exactly the least amount of cards, I wanted to cover these 3 because I found the story behind it just so interesting. April Lee is an artist born in Long Beach, California, and grew up in Anaheim. She has drawn and created her entire life, and she cites her creative drive from Disney films, dinosaurs, and the many fantasy books she consumed as a child. April attended many colleges and universities, and while attending, stayed up all night partying and playing D&D, which gave her characters to illustrate during her free time. After graduating with a BFA in illustration, she pursued the path of freelance and found some small gigs here and there, till she vended Gen Con with her friend Neen Thomas. This is where she really started to get offers for more work, and somewhere in between there, she got the offer to illustrate these 3 cards for Magic's Tempest set. If you're not familiar with these 3 cards are multi-format powerhouses for Magic the Gathering. As shown by their high price tag, any player would be happy to have one of these cards in their collection. But for April, it was just another job. April may or may not know that her 3 illustrated cards help many Magic players win their tournaments or find their win cons. But judging by her ever-growing success and expanding portfolio, it may not matter. Number 3. Counterspell, Tombstone Stairwell, Spatial Binding, and Psychic Transfer. As mentioned before, Richard Garfield reached out to many different art students in the early days of game design. Many of these students didn't understand the gravity of their contribution to the game, simply because of the lack of popularity of Magic at the time. If you're a collector of old cards, you'll notice on some of these cards, many artists provide pseudonyms or pen names in place of their artist credits and government names. While in many cases, these artists can be sourced back to their portfolios or other works, in some rare instances, these artists just get lost to time. A great example is our next artist, Dom. Dom made his debut in the Magic the Gathering during Mirage, with the cards Tombstone Stairwell, Spatial Binding, and Psychic Transfer. Dom's signature can also be found on the 1995 Counterspell promo. This one honestly is one of my favorites. Dom's unique art style and beautiful poses have made Magic enjoyers and the community alike truly curious to find more work by Dom. But from the name alone, it just can't be found. And trust me, even going to his cards on Gatherer and clicking on them, they just don't pop up. It's really strange. Don't necessarily know why. Or should I say, it couldn't be found. You see, while doing research on Dom, I wanted to delve deeper into his history or see if anyone was talking about who he may be. And after multiple blog post visits and a few different websites, I came across this. So I clicked on it and it took me to an artist collective page. I snooped around a little bit and was clicking on some tabs and I saw a name that I recognized. Jock. This artist is not mentioned in this video, but is someone that came across my radar as working on pieces like SLA Industries, Battletech, and obviously Magic the Gathering. But wait, what's that name right beside him? Dom Reardon? By complete accident and curiosity, I found the Dom. Dom, or Dom Reardon, is a British comic artist who's credited in illustrating 2000 AD, Calabasas Inc., and, as we all know now, a few Magic the Gathering cards. There's not too much information out there about Dom's personal life, which is understandable for the sake of anonymity, but now you know who to thank for your 1995 Counterspell promo. Number 4, Nalathni Dragon. While some artists find themselves striving to catch their big break illustrating for one of the world's biggest card games, others may find it a stepping stone for even larger projects. Take Michael Wellen, for example. A veteran in fantasy illustration born in 1950 in Culver City, California. Michael found himself pursuing school at 15 years old at Rocky Mount College of Art and Design. Before graduating with a bachelor's in painting in 1973, he was originally going to school for pre-medical biology, which he credits to helping him understand the fundamentals of painting human anatomy. Michael found his first job while exhibiting his work in the World Science Fiction Convention in Washington, D.C. This is where Thomas Schluck discovered him and contracted him to illustrate Lynn Carter's new fantasy novel, The Enchantress of World's End. This greatly contributed to Michael's art direction and portfolio, and 2 decades after many art publications and illustrations, Michael would find himself painting pieces for the likes of Meatloaf, Michael Jackson, and most notably and consistently, multiple Sepultura albums. So what has Michael done for Magic? Michael has done only one card for Magic, and it's significant. Their very first promo. By his own admission, Michael says, "This card caused waves in the world of collectible card games when it was unveiled at DragonCon. As the first promotional giveaway from Wizards of the Coast, it hit at a time when Magic cards were in high demand and short supply, fueling a collector frenzy. Later, due to its popularity, Wizards re-released the card in the Duelist magazine, so luckily, you can pick yourself up a copy for a reasonable price." Number 5, Alms and Cinder Giant. Finally, some artists find themselves starting in one form of art and gravitating towards another. These multifaceted artists, while not common, are interesting to say the least. Take Rio Vala, for example. You may have heard the name, but if you haven't and look him up, you'll find a few articles of a popular Brazilian comedian. However, born November 8th, 1970, his life didn't start out this way. Rogério started as a cartoonist and an illustrator, illustrating for companies like Playboy, Veja, and Heavy Metal Brazil. In 1990, Rogério started to work on US comics such as Lucifer Hammer, X-Men, and Doctor Strange. It can be inferred that the US comic work bridged the connection, and Rogério made his debut of his 2 and only Magic cards during the Weatherlight set. Rogério has not done any more art for Magic since 1997, but if you want to check him out, as well as his comedy page, he also has an Instagram dedicated to his work. So those were 5 of some of the most interesting, not as well-known Magic artists in Magic the Gathering history. I really want to shout out these articles as well as Reddit for giving me some jump off points on who to cover for this. I had some people in mind, but seeing the reaction of a community of fans just really helped with the research and narrowing it down, because there's so many stories like this, and I think it's cool with the amount of artists that are in the Magic the Gathering community. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more things like this, and share it if you found it interesting. These are my favorite types of videos to do, bridging the gap between something I love and also my profession. So if you want to see more like this, let me know, and I hope you learned something. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.